Good morning, everybody. It's Tracy from Kangoo Club Kicks, and this is another episode of What Has Changed Your Life. And I have today two incredible gentlemen who I have known for over a year, well, just about a year, actually, who are going to come on and share their fantastic journey with you. I met Jean-Luc and Nick a year ago when they joined me at my studio for one of my classes. It happened to be our Christmas class. And the thing that struck me was these two gentlemen are so inspiring. Their journey is incredible, and they are probably the nicest people I have ever met. They wear their hearts on their sleeves, and I just love them. So everybody, let's welcome Jean-Luc and Nick to What Has Changed Your Life. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Tracy. It feels so weird that it was such a long time ago.
I know.
I was going to say, it felt like I've known you longer than a year. I'm like, it's only been a year? It feels like I've known you forever.
I know. Our 1 year anniversary is December 19th.
And that's funny that you say that, because I'm going to say it now. We're going to plug we're having a dance party this year on December 19th in Zoom. Yeah. So just the other day, I had a memory on Facebook that said, we were announcing our visit to Kangoo Dance on December 19th, and I'm like, wow, our Zoom party is the exact same day this year. So, like, how cool is that? So weird.
We're going to have to join that party. We're going to have to dance that night away as our 1 year anniversary. So I would love for you guys, if people do not know who you are, I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves and tell me how your journey started. Where did Jean-Luc and Nick come from?
So I'm Nick, and I'm Jean-Luc, and we struggle with weight since childhood. It's been a constant struggle since as far as I remember. When I was in university, I actually used to weigh over 300 pounds at one point, so it was a constant issue with me.
And I was the same way. Like, as a child, I was very, tiny, and then all of a sudden puberty hit, actually before puberty, probably around 8 or 9, where I was a big sweets eater, and I couldn't control myself. So I started gaining weight. You could start seeing it in my school pictures and things like that.
And we met in 2008.
Yep.
And we got engaged. I had lost a bit of weight before I met him. I had done the no carbs and work out a lot day, which is not sustainable.
And then he met me and gained 250 pounds. At that time, I weighed about that, or 250 pounds probably at that point.
We just got comfortable until 2011, where we we got our engagement pictures back. We were getting married in 2011, and then when we got the pictures back, we didn't like them. So we said, we need to make a change. So we walked into Weight Watchers, which is what it was known at the time, for the first time on May 7th, 2011.
And that was actually, I had done WW, or back then, Weight Watchers, when I was younger, and I saw a lot of people succeeding, and I was like, Nick, let's try it. We need to try something. We had tried so many other fad diets. And again, I'll use the word diets because that's what they were, and that's how we treated them, where it was a start and a finish. And I walked in 2011, right before our wedding, and we actually had some success. We were able to lose 30 pounds right before we got married, and we were excited about it, but
it was all back.
It was never sustainable.
Yeah, we gained it all back, and we did that for a few years. We kept joining and quitting. Well, not quitting. We kept joining and just leaving, but still paying. And we kept doing this for about 6 years. So we always showed it as this is our picture we use for the most, because it's the picture where we kind of gave up on ourselves. So this picture was taken in March of 2017. This was 6 years members of WW. And we, after this picture was taken, we gave up.
I was turning 40. That was for my 40th birthday. We were in Universal Studios, and I'll never forget it. We had done this before. We were heading on our very first cruise. And we were in Universal Studios at Harry Potter Land, and Nick and I were walking around that entire day, and we didn't even make the entire day. We were so exhausted by like 4 hours. We were like, okay, let's just go back to the hotel, and I hate to say it, let's order food and just drink and eat,
which is what we used to do all the time.
Yeah.
And so when we came back from that trip, more people would see this picture as a motivator or motivator to change their life. It did the opposite for us. It made us think we can't do this anymore. We've been doing this for 6 years. It's not working. Why are we doing this? Let's just give up and just live our life and enjoy it.
If we couldn't do it when we were young, I was turning 40. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do
It's
this
the end of
in my
it's the end of
40s.
our life.
Yeah.
We're turning late 30s and 40s. Oh no.
Oh no.
And so that was that until the end of 2017, when we decided we went to see a doctor. We got physicals done, and we both got diagnosed with health issues. I was put on blood pressure medication at the age of 34.
And I had plantar fasciitis, a deteriorating Achilles tendon, issues with my liver. They were saying possible fatty liver. They also said I was also using inhalers because I would wheeze at night.
We used to buy a bottle of Pepto-Bismol per week. We used to take Zantac and daily because we had constant heartburn and indigestion, and we just felt horrible. And so that year I turned to Jean-Luc and I said, my family history is people tend to die young in their 50s, 60s. And I said, I'm following in the same footsteps. Your family, was the anomaly. His family, they tend to live a lot older, 80s and 90s. His parents are in their 80s, and so they're still living their life. And so I said, if we're going the same pattern, I'll die at 60, you'll live till 80, 90. Do you want to be alone for 30 years of your life?
And my obvious answer was no.
No.
Yeah, we finally found each other, you know. Took me a long time. I mean, first of all, being a gay couple and finding someone that you can, you know, fall in love with and want to spend more time with. And we started realizing we were killing ourselves, but one bite at a time.
Yeah,
and we were doing it with food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
And that's when we walked back into WW
2018.
And then since then we
on this journey.
We started sharing our journey online.
And as you see, we're now known as the WW Gays, with for wellness warriors, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely such an inspiration to so many different people in all walks of life, young, middle-aged, older, because the way I see it is you're never too old to start. And I think that's your philosophy as well. Yes. But I think one thing that you guys talk about a lot is making sure that you find your why. And how hard was it for you guys to find your why? And by the way, just before you, Lynn says it's a fun Zoom party. So yes, apparently we need to go to that. And she also says, whoops, hang on. Love you guys. Hello, Lynn. Thanks for joining us. So tell us how hard it was to find your why, because I know personally I struggle with that. I don't actually know what my why is. And you think it's an obvious thing, but it's not. Right? So tell me about yours.
I think what ends up happening is there's multiple whys. And sometimes you don't even realize something in your life is your why until you actually sit down and dissect it.
We actually released a video last month on our channel about finding your why, and there's actually an exercise in that video we tell people to do to try to figure it out. And the way we always shape it, and for us it was like, your why, no matter what it is important. It could be, I want to fit in a little black dress. No one can tell you if your why is not important or if it's not valid. Right. It's your own why.
Whys are very individual. There's no such thing as like a cluster why for everybody, you know? It's not a one-size-fits-all why.
But what we encourage people is to take that first why and dig deeper into it. So say your first why is, I want to fit in a little black dress. Then ask yourself, why do you want to fit in a little black dress? Then answer that question. And when you answer that question, ask why to that answer. And keep asking why to each answer you have. And once you're done, ask the following question. Where do you want to be in a year? 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20. If you have kids and grandchildren, do you want to be there for their wedding? Do you want to be there for their children? Do you want to be there for all these other life events? Do you have family history? Do you know where you're heading towards? All of these reasons add up. And what we tell people is write them down on a piece of paper. Put them somewhere visible. When you're having a struggle, you can go look at that list like, yes, that's why I'm doing this. I can keep going. And that's how we kind of dug into our why. We started with a clear, like our first reason was we want to live together the longest life possible. But now it's expanded. We want to experience new things. We've been on a helicopter ride now. We want to go skydiving in the future. These are all things we couldn't do before, but they've become a why now.
And throughout all of this, even I think one of the most important whys for me that I can say is because I know I'm worth it and I know I'm important.
Yes.
And so are all you.
Yes. Everybody is enough and everybody is so, so worth it. And I think sadly, society has basically given these pictures of this is what the ideal person should look like. And I know men get it just as much as women, because I know I see ads for men and there's these, these big beefy guys, this, chiseled look, blah, blah. Exactly, Adonises. And I'm like, who can live up to that? And then for women, it's all about, if you do this, you're going to look like this, right? And so then you start to slowly pick away at that self-worth. Well, I don't look like that person in that picture. And it starts so young, right? From all these things like on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, sorry, Facebook, but it's true. All these images that these young girls are being exposed to, right? And so then slowly you don't think you're worth all of that, but you are.
And one of the things too we've noticed as we've traversed this last few years is not the picture that society paints as what beauty is and what you're supposed to be attracted to is not exactly what everybody is attracted to and also finds beautiful.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It really is.
Every person values different things. Look, even your own families, you like different things. So even in terms of attraction, never feel that you're a lesser person because I have a bigger nose. I don't have a nose of a model. I don't have the butt of a model. Like someone will like your nose. Someone will like your butt. Everybody has different attractions. You can't diminish yourself because you think society is not looking at you as an attraction. That's what society has decided to portray as attractive. Right. And it doesn't mean there's no one out there that's going to love you for who you are as a person.
Right. And the thing about beauty too is when I meet someone, it's not necessarily about what they look like, it's what's here. Right? So if you are not a very nice person in here, I can't be near you, right? And if you are someone who wants to bring others down, for myself, I'm like, I'm out. Like, I'm out. I need to find people that are true in here as opposed to out here, right? That's how I view things myself. Does that something ring true for you?
And it's so funny. Definitely, because you know what? You could meet the most attractive, beautiful man, woman in the whole wide world, but as soon as they open their mouth and something that you're like, wow, I can't believe they said that. And I'm actually going to talk about a video that I saw on TikTok. I love TikTok. I've become a very big fan. There's a lot of bad stuff that I would be like, but there's some great stuff. And there's one video of this really, really attractive gentleman, very attractive gentleman. And all of these men actually started duetting him and saying, wow, I think I'm a straight man and he's beautiful. So they did all this. And just recently I saw another video where one of the gentlemen said, he opened his mouth now and I don't like this person. He started bashing the LGBTQ2+ community. He started bashing women. He started bashing everything. And they said, I don't want to be associated with this. We were giving him a compliment because he was a very handsome, beautiful man. But inside, because of how he spoke to women, children, it destroyed his look and it destroyed his persona. So always remember that don't judge a book by cover, because it might be the nicest cover ever, but the insides might not be so good.
Yeah. And that's what counts. Yes. And that's what counts, really. Are you a kind person? Are you a generous person? Is it about the we collective, like you wanting to help someone else, as opposed to it always being about one person? Right. And of course, I'm in healthcare. So my thought process is always about the we, because I'm always trying to help other people. And you guys are very similar in what you do with your platform on the WW Gays, because you guys help people, show people different ways to get fit, to create recipes that, by the way, I've done so many of your recipes and I love them. So if you guys are on the website, you need to go and do their recipes, because I'm telling you, they are good. Their cheesecake, and I love cheesecake. It's so good. I just want to get to a couple of comments because there are some comments coming up. And Devin says, hi, boys. And Henry is here as well. And he says, they are so inspirational. I try to join their Zoom Facebook party every week. Love them. Thank you, Henry. And he also says, they have kept my weight loss journey going for the last 5 months, my longest run for years. That's awesome, Henry. Good for you.
You know, it's funny. I hope Henry's okay with us sharing this. We actually work with Henry. He works at our company. And we don't share where we work on social media. I try to keep it, you know, private life separate, but we've actually done sessions at work too now. We've actually done wellness warrior sessions at work, showing people at work what they can do to be healthy, especially through the current pandemic, because a lot of people are working from home.
And we're firm believers as well. Like, we follow WW. That's where we found our success on wellness. But we're huge believers of find what works for you. Yeah. We don't judge anyone for whatever, because you know what? You might walk into WW and say, that doesn't work for me. I can't do it this way.
One of my biggest pet peeves, and it's happened to us in the past, it doesn't happen much now, but back in the day when someone would say, oh, I tried this recipe, or I'll say, oh, I tried this, and someone says, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. That's wrong.
Not good for you.
WW said you shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, if that works for that person's journey, and this is what's working for them, it's not my place to judge what they're doing. I can suggest, oh, I'm doing this instead. I know you're doing this, but I'm doing this. Maybe you can try this too. But you can't tell someone what you're doing is wrong, because it's what they want to do. There's no clear-cut path, and there's no rule book that says you have to do this way or be healthy. You have to find what works for you.
Yes, 100%. I agree so much, because, you know, not everybody has the same capabilities physically either. So if they're looking at this clear-cut box of, okay, you have to work out like this, then they're never going to get up and walk, right? And even if they just walk for 10 minutes at the start, I say to people, it's one step at a time, and that's it. You just put that one foot in front of the other, and then next time you work out, it'll be maybe a minute longer. Well, that's a success as far as I'm concerned, because you were 10 minutes last week and now you're 11. Fantastic. And if you had to take a break in between, who cares, right?
Who cares? Well, it's that whole analogy, and you just made me think of something. Like, when a baby is learning to walk, do we expect them to take its first steps and start running? No.
They're going to take time.
They're going to take some time to learn how to stand up. They're going to have to learn how to balance.
And even when you're a firm, you do activity regularly, you take a month break or 2 weeks off, you can't expect to restart full tilt like you did before. You got to take the time to reintroduce it again and again and again. A lot of us assume that, you know, because I've been runner for years and I took a month off because I hurt I decided to take a month off, I don't know, for a reason, and I started running again. You can't expect, a lot of us get discouraged because we try to do it again and I can't do it like I used to. That's normal, because you have to rebuild it again, and that's okay. You get there again. It doesn't mean you won't do it again. It's just you'll have to work at it again, which is okay. It's part of the journey.
And also, by doing that, you avoid hurting yourself, because when you think you go full force on something that you haven't done in a long time, what do you end up doing? You end up hurting yourself 9 times out of 10, and then you're stuck not doing something for even longer.
Well, do you remember last year I came to Kangoo? I had my foot. I had been hurting a few weeks before because I had done I think it was a body class, and I hurt myself, and I was worried about coming to the class that last year. So I was like, that reminds me again. That's what we did last year. We would push ourselves too hard when we would take breaks, and we've learned that lesson now that when we come back, we have to. Our first day doing activity this week after taking a 4-day break, we took it slower. We took it lower. We didn't push ourselves further because we knew we took 4 days off.
Exactly. And the thing is, you just have to move, and it doesn't need to be vigorous, right? One of the best ways to start moving is walking. You know, everybody's like, oh, well, you're always promoting your Kangoo jumps. I do, because I love them. But having said that, it's not for everyone, and I understand that. So I say to people, just move your body. That's it. Even if you're in your kitchen and you're just walking, right, in place, that's okay. They do what their body is capable of.
When we started our journey, like back in 2018, December 2017, the first thing we told ourselves was, okay, prior to walking into WW again, we said, this is not a New Year's resolution, first of all, when we go back in January. It just happens to be the end of the year. This is just, it has nothing to do with a New Year's resolution. First, we said, but let's start moving before we walk into our first workshop.
It's kind of like we started walking in December to kind of remove the fact that it was a New Year's resolution.
Exactly.
We said we're starting today.
We're starting, yeah. So we didn't start with everything. We picked one part of the journey and started focusing on that. And ours was walking. We walked in the house. We had downloaded, there was an app in the day that you could get points if you walked for amount of steps per day. And we thought that was a great challenge for us. So what we would do is turn our TVs on. Upstairs and downstairs, we lived in a 2-story house at the time, and we'd watch TV just walking up and down stairs. We would talk to each other. We would bring our laundry up to our bedroom, and we set a rule where we were only allowed to fold one piece of clothing, put it away, walk back down the stairs, around the living room, down up the kitchen, back into the bedroom, fold another piece. And these were things that we did in order to build our stamina, because we wouldn't have done it any other way.
And another thing too is that I always tell everybody always says, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start this. And human beings, if you create such a huge change to yourself in one fell swoop, you will tend to not be able to follow through because it's such a drastic change. And we knew this from doing WW like 6 different times. So we said we are taking it slow and we're tackling each pillar one at a time in small steps. We also didn't come in with lofty goals. We didn't come in, I want to lose 100 pounds. We came in, I want to lose 5 pounds. We reduced everything to a smaller task, again, to help us propel us, because as you finish a task, you feel accomplished, and you're like, check.
And when we even said 5 pounds, we would never set ourselves a specific timeline to lose those 5. We said, I want to lose 5 pounds. If it happens a month, a 6 months, when I lose that, I'm going to celebrate it, because I need to celebrate every little thing on this journey.
Every milestone. Every milestone. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said about the goal setting, because I think that's one thing that people want to, okay, by this day, I'm going to do this, right? What happens when that day comes and for whatever reason, life gets in the way and you didn't make that? Are you going to beat yourself up because you didn't make that? Just change it.
Or you made half of it and you don't celebrate the fact that you did part of that goal. But because you didn't do it all, you're like, oh my God, I failed.
One of the things that we removed this time around, like this last time, was negativity. And one of the things we removed competition or comparisons to ourselves. That was one of the big things we used to do before. We used to compare our weight loss, like, oh, I lost more than you kind of attitude.
Without realizing
it, but we were doing it. And we stopped that this time completely. We celebrated whatever we each lost, no matter what. And the second thing too was we stopped worrying about the
scale no longer really controlled us anymore.
Like we stopped setting these lofty goals and these time limit goals. It was always a detriment for us. You need to look at who you are as a person. If you are a person that can say, I will lose 5 pounds by February 15th or 14th, and you set that goal, and if you don't make it, it does not make you feel negative about yourself, do it. Yes, that means it helps you. It's something that works for you. But if you are like us, where if we put that limit and we don't make it, we get depressed and we sabotage ourselves. We eat a pint of ice cream because we didn't make that goal.
Even though we might have lost 9.2 pounds instead of 10.
Yeah.
It still was a detriment to us. So we removed those thresholds.
Yes. And that negative self-talk, a lot of us have it going on in our mind, that narrative, or as I like to call it, the chatterbox that goes off, and you're like, oh my goodness, how could I do that to myself? And then you start bombarding your mind with all these negative things, and that's detrimental. But you guys have some great tips on how to get rid of that negativity in your minds and change the narrative, as you say. Give a couple of tips for people of how they can change today, like start that narrative today, for example.
It's all about perception. Perception is a huge part of it. And it's words. Words are powerful.
The first thing we did was the word.
We give so much power to words. So making sure you choose words that work for you. Yeah. Like, for example, we never use the word cheat anymore. We always say you cheat on your taxes, you cheat on a spouse, you cheat on a test. And those are all bad things. Like growing up, you don't want to cheat on a test, you get into trouble. You cheat on your spouse, not a good thing. You cheat on your taxes, the government comes after you, bad thing.
So why is it that if you're having a piece of cake
Why
on
is that
Saturday
cheating?
that you're tracking and it's indulgence day, why are you calling it a cheat? You're not cheating.
You're not cheating.
You're having an indulgence. You're making a choice. You're having a treat.
A choice is not cheating.
Yeah, a choice is not cheating. Another word we remove is the word plateau.
So
We replace it with the word maintenance, because no matter where you are on your wellness journey, you will get to a point where you need to maintain your weight. You need to learn to stick to that weight forever. And so if you're along your journey and you've lost 40 of your 60 pounds and you've been there for a while, that's okay. You're not going up. You're learning to maintain. Embrace that. Embrace the fact that you're able to actually stick to a weight, because back in the day, all of us used to always creep back up all the time. And so this is a positive. Embrace that.
And then by embracing that part of the journey, your body then your body will eventually catch up and say, wow, I'm going to let you shed more weight now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, guess what? You've been able to
Maintain
this for
3 months.
3 months.
Here's pounds.
We're now going to start seeing the effect on the scale, because at that point is when you should not be giving up. Another thing too that I want to mention is before that, how we talk about things in life as, oh, that's so hard. Things get hard, and life is hard, especially right now. We all know how hard things have been with the pandemic and, being locked down, especially now that we're in Toronto and we're in lockdown in Toronto. So realizing that life will never get easy. Life is never easy.
No.
But guess what? We get better at doing things.
Yes.
We are the ones that get better. We practice things and we improve on things. And when you look at that and start realizing that it's me that's getting better. This thing that I'm doing has always been the same. It doesn't change.
You're still tracking like you did back in the day.
You're still doing your classes like you're a prime example, Tracy. Your classes when you first started, you're way better at it now than you were when you first started.
Right? It didn't get easier.
It didn't get easier. You got better at doing it.
Yes.
And another thing that we notice is people like to minimize their success.
Yes.
They'll walk into a workshop or on scale, or they'll do an activity. They'll say, "Oh, I only walked 2 kilometers." No, you walk 2 kilometers.
That's 2
Why
kilometers.
are you minimizing your success?
Yes.
Get rid of that only.
It drives us nuts when we hear only or just.
Or the word, I've been bad.
Yeah, I've been bad.
No, you haven't been bad. If you plan for it, there's no such thing as being bad.
And another thing that we've learned to embrace too, in terms of, we no longer look at the negatives of what happened this week. You look at the positives. So back in the day, Jean-Luc, when we would do a normal week, a regular week of our journey, we would, start Monday off on track, do great. Then Tuesday we'd fall off, and then we'd say, oh, we'll start back next Monday. Then we spend the entire week gorging ourselves on,
because we'll never have it again.
We'll never have
next Monday.
again, and we're back on program. We're never gonna have chips again. So we would do this, and then when we weigh in on the weekend and we gain weight, we look, I can't believe I did all this. I can't believe I was horrible. Now, when we weigh in on Saturdays, if the scale goes up, or if we've had an indulgent meal, or if we've had a crazy week, we still look at all the positives that happened that week. What's changed in your life that you didn't do before? For example, I didn't do activity every day before WW. I sat on my butt, watched TV. So this week, we skipped 4 days of working out, but we tracked all 4 days. Did I track before WW? No. So when we weighed in this week, we celebrate the fact that we tracked, that we did activity for 3 days this week instead of 0.
So we've been telling to a lot of people, before you actually step on that scale, that evil monster sometimes, the piece of metal that we put so much emphasis on, stop before, pause, take that moment of reflection before you step on it, and list out in your mind things that you feel good about that you did on that week. That you feel that, wow, these are things I've never done before.
Non-skill victories, mini goals,
things
you change in your routine that are trying to build a new habit.
And then step on that scale and say, wow, it didn't move this week. Or it went up, but
or it
look
went
at
down.
everything else I'm able to accomplish. Because that's what's going to make you feel successful.
Because I'll say this, after doing this for so many years, the scale is no longer what brings us joy. The number on the scale is not what brings us joy anymore. It's how we feel.
Well, because guess what? When you're in the losing portion of this journey, you're always like, yay, I'm going down. Yay, I'm going down. But at some point, guess what? That scale should not be moving anymore. It actually, you should get to a point where that scale And maintenance, I think a lot of people have to understand where maintenance is not a straight line. We think of that. Maintenance is ups and downs, ebbs and flows. To anywhere between, I think, to me, healthy maintenance is anywhere between a 5-pound range. It's a 5 pounds below, or not a 3 pound,
a 10-pound range.
Yeah, but 3 pounds below, 3 pound above, and whatever you feel more comfortable with. But understanding that you're going to go up and down, because I always say this: you can weigh yourself 5 times in a day,
and you'll never weigh the same.
So
That's
why
true.
do you expect that every single week when you weigh in that you're going to weigh the same? It's impossible.
Yeah. And I think the last piece we learned is another way to look at this is that this journey is not about perfection. It's about doing your best every single day, and trying your best every day adds up to a lot. And I think a lot of us, when we start WW or any weight loss journey that we want to do, it ends up being that we jump in thinking that we have to be 100% on track, 100% following everything
time.
all 100% of the time. And the second we fall off, we think, oh, I screwed up, whatever, I'm not going to try anymore, I give up.
Yep.
That's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
And now we say, you know what, a 50% week is better than 0%.
We strive for 80.
Yeah,
If we strive for 80, if we can be at 8% every week, that is our new 100.
Yeah.
Because guess what? We need to live our life. We need to enjoy a piece of birthday cake from time to time.
I'm over my weekly this week.
We need to eat things that we normally don't eat. Like we say, if your thing is having a glass of wine with your dinner every night, but you're not going to have it right now because you're trying to be healthy and you don't want to do this,
bring it in now.
Use it.
Use it now.
Have it part of your journey now. Don't think that once you hit the perfect weight that you want to be at, introducing foods at that point is 12 times harder because your body is not used to it.
We always tell people, try to find ways to still have the things you enjoy, but with limitations or regulations around it.
Parameters.
And so you're not just free for all.
Exactly. Well, Henry says steps add up throughout the day. And isn't that the truth, right? And we see that with, well, I'm not wearing my now, but it's every step counts, right? And Lynn says, this is why I love the 80-20 rule. And I agree with Lynn. I love the 80-20 rule, and I try and live by that because you know what? For me, after all week and stuff, you know what? I do like to have a little glass of wine, as we just talked about on Friday evening after I've finished my long week. And I will continue to do that, especially being a nurse in the middle of a pandemic.
Exactly.
So,
and Tracy, I want to personally thank you and you and all of the people that have been putting themselves out there and at jeopardy. And we could not be where we're at today if it wasn't for people like you who
doing the job that
you guys are so selfless. Like you guys are doing this, and it means the world to us. Like to know that we have people that care so much about others, and I just wish more people were like that.
Yes, me too. It makes me a bit sad when I see things that are going on in the world, but you know, we just take it one step at a time. We just do what we do, and that's all we can do. And some days are harder than others. I won't lie to you. It's these last 8 months have not been easy being a nurse in healthcare. At the beginning, it was a little bit hard to go to work in the morning, but I think we've all figured out how to live this life and get back to what we do best. And so we're finding that we're getting a little better. There was a lot of fear and anxiety at the beginning. And rightfully so, because we didn't know much about this pandemic and this virus. But now that time's gone on and we realize, we're just like, okay, this is our new normal. This is how we're going to deal with it. This is how we're going to do it. And that's just it until a vaccine comes, whenever that will be. So I think things are getting a little bit more, I would say back to normal, but not quite back to normal, but as normal as it's going to be. So,
exactly.
And that's
I don't think it's going to be the same again.
No, I agree with you. But you know, I have to say, one of the things that this pandemic has taught me is before the pandemic, I was incredibly busy. And now I've cut back on a lot. And the reason I did was because I realized that I was not living life the way that it should be lived for me. Because you're so, I'm so busy going here, doing this, going there, teaching 6 classes a week and working full time. And I was missing out on a lot of stuff. And then this pandemic said, whoa, slow down. You've got to live your life. You can't be disappearing all the time, right? You have people that are in your house that are like, hey, who's that lady coming in the door? Like, you know what I mean? So I felt like I was missing a lot and I didn't realize it till I had to stop. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I'm missing life.
I think a lot of us have seen that, like kind of reevaluating a lot of things that you used to do, because it's not just that, even like holidays, birthdays have gone by, and all these other occasions that you normally would do have changed now. And I think some of us have even rethought how we'll do some of these things in the future. I actually think I'll
I'll probably never eat a cake that has candles on it that someone blew out candles.
Ever.
I probably never will eat
never
if I see a cake with candles. I'll never eat if someone blew out the candles. It's just indented in my brain. I'm like, I never thought of that before.
No,
but it's those little things, and I'm not saying that I don't want to judge people for that, but it's like, you know what? We need to be careful still. We need to be smart, and we need to be respectful. I think that's a huge part, is the respect, is respecting each other.
Exactly. And looking after each other as a we, as opposed to a me, right? So looking after our fellow human being together as much as we can.
There's a time and a place you need to focus on yourself, but then there's a time and a place where you need to look at the collective and work as a group to make things happen.
100%.
Because what do they say? Strength comes in numbers. I can't pick up maybe 200 pounds alone, but if I have him with me, picking up 200 pounds does help a lot more. Makes it easier. And then if you're there with me, Tracy, and we're all 3 of us picking that 100 pounds, that makes it even easier.
Yeah. 100 now?
Well, 200, whatever.
It's like if you started with 2 and you went down to 1.
We got rid of we shed 100.
That's right. So what advice would you give to someone who's watching this right now and they are about to embark and start on their journey? What would be something that would help them to take that step to go forward? That's a tough one.
Oh, I have 2 things. Like, I already come to the top of my head, but I want to see if you want me to go.
Yeah, go for it.
So the first thing for me is take small steps. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't come in thinking I'm going to change everything about me tonight. Think about one aspect that you want to change. Could be food, the first one. Okay, the first thing I want to do is maybe improve my breakfast and then work on that one meal. And then tackle lunch and then tackle new recipes. Take it slow. Don't jump in thinking I'm going to change everything right away, because it will discourage you. I'm sorry to say it will.
And I have an analogy to go with that. This journey is like a big sand dune. I've heard this before, and it's like a sand dune. You go to the beach and you see this huge pile of sand, right? And you're there one day. Well, the next day you go to the beach and that sand dune's not in the same spot. It's been moved onto the other end of the beach, and you're like, wow, a backhoe or a truck didn't come move it. Every single grain of sand moved by the wind, one grain at a time. Some of them flew back. Some of them went forward. So understanding that there's
every small step
does add up.
And the second thing I will say is never give up.
Okay.
I know. Okay, so that second thing was never give up. We did. We technically didn't, because we're here now, but we had given up. And if back then we wouldn't have given up and just kept going, maybe we would have reached success a lot earlier.
Those moments you're struggling and you want to give up are the moments you need to give it 110%. That's when I will say, do your 100. Don't do your 80 anymore. Get to that 100. When you're in that moment of, oh my God, I'm just done.
That's what we did.
Push yourself as much as you can. You had to.
Yeah.
And my thing that I think is love yourself now, during, and after. Don't wait till you make it where you want to be to love yourself.
You have yourself now.
You have to love yourself the entire time. And you learn to
And
love yourself differently.
And love yourself before.
Oh, definitely.
Before, now, later, then, like every single aspect of your journey, you have to love yourself.
And I'm not saying the love won't change, because it does, because I love myself more now than I ever have. I love myself more than I ever have, and I can say it loud and proud, because before I would never say that I love myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I am so glad that you guys were able to join me today on this lovely episode of What Has Changed Your Life. Before you go though, I want to just put in the comments, it's www.gaze.com or ca for people for your website.
Yeah, .com. Yeah.
Gaze.
Yeah, www.wgaze.com. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if they use hashtag WWGaze on any social media,
you'll be able to find us. We're everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube.
Let me just show that. There you go. So if anybody wants to follow Jean-Luc and Nick on their incredible journey, there is their website. Hopefully I got that right. Yes, gentlemen?
You did. Yeah.
So thank you both again. I am so glad to see you. And I will definitely be joining your party, your dance party on the 19th, 100%. And thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Nick and Jean-Luc. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today on What Has Changed Your Life. And I hope you found this story as inspirational as I always do. Again, follow Jean-Luc and Nick on www.wwgaze.com. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.